So as the title shows, I'm going to be going over two clones, one from the House of Fragrance World, the other one from Maison Alhambra. And these are going to be Oud Wonder as well as Exclusif Tabac. So if you've been wondering how close these are to the original fragrances, then definitely stick around and see what I have to say about these two fragrances. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Jamar from Vegas Scents. And in this video, again, I'm going to be going over Oud Wonder and Exclusif Tabac. So definitely, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also, to anyone watching, leave a like and a comment on the video. That greatly helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. So again, Oud Wonder, this is going to be Fragrance World's take on Tom Ford's Oud Wood. I know there are plenty of videos out there of the Maison Alhambra, clone of the Tom Ford Oud Wood. I believe it's the Maison Alhambra Oud Woody or Woody Oud, something like that. And then the Exclusif Tabac, this is going to be the clone of Carolina Herrera's Mystery Tobacco. All right. So two really solid fragrances, I would say. Even though I think technically these two are both kind of marketed as more so unisex fragrances, in my opinion, these are definitely more so masculine leaning types of fragrances. All right. So what I'm going to start off with here is the Oud Wonder fragrance. So this fragrance, man, this is extremely close to Tom Ford's Oud Wood. Now, what I'll say is this fragrance, it gets a lot closer to Oud Wood as it starts to dry down. I would say there are definitely some differences in the opening of the two fragrances. So I would say in the opening of Tom Ford's Oud Wood, Oud Wood is just a very nice blended fragrance. All right, it really is. The notes that you get in Oud Wood are oud, Brazilian rosewood, cardamom, sandalwood, Sichuan pepper, vanilla, vetiver, tonka bean, and amber. All right. And so for the most part, I would say you get that, when you spray this fragrance, but I would say in the opening, I get a little bit more of that sort of cardamom blast than what I do in the Oud Wood. The Oud Wood, I would say it's just a mixture of like those sort of woody notes, the cardamom, the pepper. I would say in the beginning, you don't really get much of like the vanilla, the tonka bean, or the amber, but it's mainly kind of like this sort of spicy, woody sort of scent when you first spray Tom Ford on. Whereas I would say with the Oud Wonder, you're getting, in my opinion, a little bit louder of a blast when it comes to like that cardamom note. That sticks out a little bit more than what it does in the Oud Wood. All right, the Oud Wood is almost kind of like this sort of velvety, smooth, almost sort of leathery, cardamom woody type of fragrance. At least that's what my nose sort of picks up on in the opening. Whereas this is just definitely, in my opinion, a little bit more on kind of like that sort of fresh, spicy sort of side. Either way, I mean, I think this is still a very good fragrance. Like I said, it's just not as well blended as what the Tom Ford is. So, I mean, I would say in the opening, this is probably going to be about 85% or so close to the Tom Ford Oud Wood. And then pretty much as the two start to dry down, they start to become a lot closer to each other. And I would say that the Oud Wonder from Fragrance World, this is going to get, at the very best, I would say probably about 90 to 92% close or something like that. So definitely close enough to where I feel like for the most part, you are pretty much getting the same sort of experience with this fragrance, just at a much more reduced cost. I was able to pick this fragrance up on Amazon from the Oud store. So they actually do have like a store where they also sell on Amazon as well. So I picked this up from Amazon from the Oud store for like about, I believe it was like $25 shipped or something like that. It was really, really cheap. So I did enjoy wearing this fragrance, you know, the several times that I've worn it so far since I've had it. And I mean, this was my introduction into like the Tom Ford Oud Wood scent profile. I had always seen that scent profile, you know, over the years of me, you know, kind of getting into fragrances. But for the longest time, I wasn't really that much of a fan of oud fragrances. And I'm not going to say that I'm like the hugest fan of oud even right now, but oud is definitely a fragrance note that I would say I'm much more willing to at least try out or wear when it comes to fragrances. And I've found that, you know, a lot of the sort of more westernized ouds, I can definitely wear those and definitely appreciate those fragrances a lot more. All right. So overall, man, I would say this is an amazing fragrance. I mean, performance wise, when you first get this fragrance, you definitely you want to let this one sit a little bit. This one is going to be a fragrance that on like that first initial couple of wearings, you're probably only going to get about 3 to 4 hours or so. So you're going to think that this is like a super weak performing fragrance. I would say definitely just like let this kind of sit for maybe about 3 to 5 weeks or so. And then after that, you know, go back to wearing it and you're probably going to get at least about anywhere from 6 to 7.5 hours or so on skin. So that, you know, for a $25 fragrance that's, you know, about 90% close to the original, I think that is a very good deal, you know, for this fragrance. And I would say in terms of like the projection is pretty much on par, I would say, with the Tom Ford. So it's not going to be any less projecting, and it's not going to really be too much more, I would say, than what the Tom Ford is. It's basically about the same. All right. In terms of the performance on the Tom Ford as well, like the overall longevity, I would say that's about how much, you know, I get with Tom Ford Oud Wood as well, about, you know, 7 to 7.5 hours or so. So, I mean, you know, again, this is very, very close to that particular scent in terms of just the overall sort of scent profile in general, and in terms of, you know, the way that it performs. So I would have to give this one a solid 8.5 out of 10 if I'm rating this on, you know, a scale of 1 to 10 overall as a clone. This is really good. I don't know how this really differs, you know, between it and like the Maison Alhambra version. So I know there's going to be a lot of questions probably in the comments about that version. I don't know, but I would definitely recommend, you know, picking this up if you like Tom Ford's Oud Wood. All right. So again, this is going to be Oud Wonder from Fragrance World. All right, so the next fragrance is going to be Exclusif Tabac. So this again is going to be the clone of Carolina Herrera's Mystery Tobacco, and this is a fragrance that I love this fragrance like when I first got it and before I actually got the sample of Mystery Tobacco. You know, I definitely preferred, especially the way that the Drydown smelled of this over what I did to Fokker. Now, I understand Fokker is, you know, it's supposed to be a clone of a different scent, you know, Parfums de Marly's Carlisle. But the two definitely, they have a lot of, you know, sort of similarities between the two. I definitely enjoyed the opening of Fokker more than I did this one, but I enjoyed the dry down of this one more than I did Fokker. Now, once I actually compared the Exclusif Tabac to Mystery Tobacco definitely showed me where this one is definitely lacking, especially in the opening. So when you spray these two on and you smell them side by side, you can absolutely tell that there is a very noticeable sort of quality difference between the Exclusif Tabac and the Mystery Tobacco. So Exclusif Tabac, at least on my skin anyway, definitely came off as being a lot more sort of harsher. I would say, you know, definitely more sharper than what the Mystery Tobacco did from Carolina Herrera. This one is like silky smooth in terms of, you know, the way that the notes are blended. So the notes in the Mystery Tobacco in the top notes are going to be osmanthus, ginger, citruses, and artemisia. then in the mid, you've got tobacco, patchouli, gaiac wood, and vetiver. And then in the base note, you have tonka bean. And I would say pretty much what I get from the Maison Alhambra when I spray this on for like the opening, even going into slightly like the mid, I would say you get a lot more sort of citruses with the Maison Alhambra version, or at least that's the note to me that sort of sticks out more. But it's not really in a good way, in my opinion. It's definitely in the type of way where, like I said, it makes the fragrance a little bit more sort of abrasive, more sharper, not as smooth. You can definitely tell it's not as well blended. And you, like I said, I didn't really pick up on that until I actually, smelled it side by side with the original, the Carolina Herrera Mystery Tobacco. And I was like, oh, wow, this Mystery Tobacco is like super smooth. You can't really pick out one particular note over the other. Everything was really well blended. Whereas this one is, in my opinion, a lot more sort of screechy than what the original is. Now, once this starts to dry down, this does get a lot better. The dry down of this is, I would say, probably the best part of the fragrance. Once you start to get like that mixture of the tobacco, the patchouli, the tonka bean, it almost kind of gives the fragrance sort of like almost kind of like a chocolatey type of feel. It's kind of like a sort of semi-sweet, chocolatey, slightly kind of dusty, wet tobacco feel. That's at least the feeling that I get from this fragrance. And it is very enjoyable, like I said, once you get into that dry down. So I would say probably about an hour and a half or so into the fragrance, that's when this starts to become really, really enjoyable, all the way until, it pretty much dies off of your skin. Whereas I would say with the Carolina Herrera Mystery Tobacco, this is a lot more enjoyable, I would say, from like the opening spray. All right. So those are the main differences that I picked up on. I would also say that because this fragrance is definitely more screechier and, I would say more kind of like on the abrasive side, it does technically have, like, you could say more strength, I guess, or projection than what the Mystery Tobacco does in the opening. But like I said, again, when you smell the two side by side, yeah, even though this one is kind of jumping off of your skin more, it's more of sort of like a rougher sort of smell than, what it is from the Carolina Herrera. All right. So again, yeah, the projection is a little bit heavier, in my opinion, than what the Carolina Herrera is in this. And then in terms of like the overall longevity, I would say they're about the same. You're going to get at least about 8 to 9 hours or so on your skin with both of these fragrances. Definitely, as you start to get into the dry down, it is, I would say, a much more sort of closer to your skin sort of scent, with both of these. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is definitely, it does become a lot closer to the Carolina Herrera, at least in the dry down. So I would say in the opening, it's more kind of closer to about, I would say probably about 80% close to the Carolina Herrera. And then once you start to get into the dry down, I would say that's when it starts to become probably at best about 87 to about 90% at best, close to the Carolina Herrera. So, I mean, for the price that you can pick this up for, especially if you pick this up from fragrancebuy.ca, I believe they normally sell this fragrance for like under $20, like around $17, $18, I believe. I think I probably paid about $18 plus shipping or so for this fragrance. So after shipping, it probably came out to like around $30-ish or so. And this is a 100 ml bottle. So even though you're not getting the same quality of fragrance, definitely at least in the opening, I would say this is still worth it. Now, I have just recently picked up another clone of the mystery tobacco from Fragrance World. And it comes in the bottles that look like this. All right. So these bottles from Fragrance World are actually a lot closer to what the original Carolina Herrera bottles look like. So I can't wait to, do a review on that fragrance. And I'll have a video up of this fragrance as well, as soon as I get the sample of the original. But yeah, man, I would say this is still going to be worth it. I'll compare this with the Fragrance World to let you know which one is actually closer or smoother. And, we'll kind of see what happens with that, sort of like a clone war. But overall, man, I would have to give this fragrance a solid 7 out of 10, just when it comes to like an overall rating for this clone. It is a solid fragrance. I definitely think the opening could be a little bit better. But, again, I would say to each his own. If this is the only fragrance that you can find that's cloning mystery tobacco, then definitely pull the trigger on this, especially if you can find it at somewhere like fragrancebuy.ca. All right. So definitely, man, let me know what you all think in the comments below. Let me know what you all think about Exclusif Tabac. Do you all think that, or do you all agree with my assessment of how close this actually comes to the original? And also, do you agree with my assessment of Oud Wonder from Fragrance World? All right. So let me know. And again, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And once again, that's Jamar from Vegas Sense. I'll see you all in the next video.